today you'll be receiving from a message full of God's power to help you become everything that God has created you to be. You know, God sent his son, Jesus, to die for you to have a life of abundance and for you to be an ambassador for him. What does that mean? That your life should represent his goodness. It's time to be about it. Tune in today's message and you'll be blessed.
The title of the message the Lord gave me for you this morning is simply one word, and it's this: intensity. Philippians chapter 3. I am going to start with verse 4. This is Paul speaking. He says, though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinks that he has a reason to trust in his flesh, I have more. Let me just before I keep going, let me just lay out what he's talking about here. Let me start my clock. I'm sure y'all appreciate that. He's saying here, he's about to lay out for us why he has reason to have his confidence in everything that he is and who he is and what he has. He's so cocky about it. He actually says, if you think you got it going on, you don't have it going on like I do. Then he goes on to verse 5. He talks about, I was circumcised the 8th day. I'm of the stock of Israel and the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews. He said, you want a Hebrew? I'm the Hebrew of Hebrews. Then he's saying, as touching the law, a Pharisee, meaning I know the law, obey the law. Then he said, concerning zeal. Now he's talking about his personality. He said, I'm not no punk. He said, I used to persecute y'all. He said, touching the righteousness which is in the law, I am blameless. So, you guys ever run up against somebody who was like a goody-goody, or you thought they were a goody two-shoes and you almost wanted to trip them because they just seemed like they always got it going on. So this was what he's saying. He was like, oh, I'm blameless. I don't break the laws. I got it together. Verse 7, he says, but what things were gained to me, those I counted loss for Christ. Now that word, I'm laying a foundation here before I get into this, but that word Christ is not Jesus' last name. It refers to the anointing on Jesus, the anointed Jesus, Jesus, the anointed one. How many of you know that the anointing is the burden-removing, yoke-destroying power of God? There's certain medicines they have out here, especially, the over-the-counter medicines that sometimes in their commercials, they'll say, if you have a backache, you can take this medicine. If you have a headache, this same medicine will work. If you have a footache, this same medicine will work. If your fingernails hurting, this same medicine will work. You have hip pain, this same medicine will work. And this particular medicine that I'm thinking about boasts the fact that if you take it, it can take care of any kind of pain in your body. Well, we know at the end of those commercials, they also have to say all the side effects, possible death, and it might help you get rid of hip pain, but you might not be able to see, and all the other sorts of stuff they have to lay out. But the anointing works for anything in your life. The anointing removes all burdens and destroys all yokes. And some of you are like, what is the burden? What is the yoke? It means drama, issues, anything that is in your life that did not come as a result of Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection. If it did not come as a result of God's love, is a burden. And when the anointing is present, it has no choice but to bow down. This is why even though Paul is sitting here telling us all his attributes, we understand this as women. Do I have any ladies in the house? I have any ladies online? Now y'all know that this world wants to categorize you by how you look. I've seen so many, I can't even imagine the amount of plastic surgery that's going on right now, of people taking ribs out to get a smaller waist and taking stuff here and to get these big, mammoth backsides now and this over curviness and blah, 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 blah. And you see in the industry that in order to succeed, in some sense, you got to take your clothes off and show your body. You got to do this and you got to do that. And, you can't even go to a football. I used to love going to a football game until I got married. And I'm like, these little half-naked chicks is shaking in front of my husband, and these little, these Super Bowl halftime shows, stripper poles, all kind of stuff. Why? Because the value is placed on the outside and what you look like. But you can have a banging body. You can have a dreamboat body and a shipwrecked spirit. And your life, Satan will whoop your life and take and steal from you emotionally unless you learn to grab hold of that anointing. Well, that's how powerful that is. So here he's saying everything, I've got, and he's bragging, he's talking about every part of who he is, his race, where he came from, his education, everything. Verse 8, he says, yea, doubtless, and I count all things but loss for the excellency of the knowledge of the anointed Jesus Christ and his anointing, my Lord, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and do count them but dung, that I may win Christ. So here he's talking about, he at one time had his confidence in his flesh, confidence in what he can do, confidence in what she could do, confidence in where he came from, confidence in all these other sorts of things. But he said, you know what? As much as I had going on in here, it is garbage. That word dung means garbage next to the power of God. So really, this passage is really talking about transferring your trust from what you see, what you feel, what you taste, what you're thinking, and transferring that trust over into the power of God, which, by the way, was released and prepared for you before your mother ever met your father. Transferring it away from the flesh into the anointing. Let's keep going. Verse 90 says, and to be found in him, not having my own righteousness, which is of the law, but that which is through the faith of Christ, the righteousness which is of God by faith. Again, he's still talking about this power of God. He's like, there's nothing in this earth that is worth giving up. There's a song that I love, this single. I don't even know how I got a hold of it, but it's called Your Destiny. It's a Christian song. And every now and then, when I start feeling like I'm forgetting things, or I'm starting to get a little bamboozled a little in life, I put that on. And one of the lines in that song says that your destiny is too important to give up for anything. It's not worth that skirt. It's not worth that tie. It's not worth something that is temporary. We're here, this is what he's talking about. He's saying that the great thing about the anointing is that it's not based on my goodness, it's based on the goodness of God. When Jesus died, he died to cover my sins. And as a result of that, I can walk boldly before the throne of God. Now, don't sit here and think I already know all this kind of stuff. Stay plugged in. I'm going somewhere. There are all kind of different levels that are tuned into this message right now. When you accept Jesus, see, a lot of people say, let me clean myself up and then I'll come to God. And he's saying, no, come to me and I'll make you clean. That is a word of freedom from someone right here. If there are people in here watching online and you feel like you accept less than God's best in your life because of the mistakes you've made, I've got good news for you. I said, I've got good news for you. Christ died for us because God loved us. God loved us, and therefore he gave his only son. So the issue is not about what you did in your past. The issue is, what are you going to do now in your future? That anointing of God, that power of God, that supernatural power of God is available in this day and age. God is still answering by fire in this day and age. God is still miraculously healing people in this day and age. God is still having goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our life in this day and age. God is still healing mental illness. God is still healing developmental disabilities in this day and age. God is still turning things around. God is still restoring. God is still multiplying unto his people. And I speak to your spirit and I charge you to stop accepting average or below average. Jesus did not die on the cross to get a C or a C minus or a D plus.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. I want to invite you to subscribe as well as visit our website at michelleferguson.org. We have some materials there that can help you as you walk through life, live the life that God created for you. As always, I'm Michelle Ferguson, helping you to discover, develop, and celebrate who God has created you to be. See you next time.